Now on 4, we grit our teeth as the Chicago Bears grapple with the Minnesota Vikings.
It's been a long day, Walter. But I know you still got something left. Yeah, you've got energy from 100% whole wheat. Wheaties energy. Hey there, Walter, turn it on. Wheaties keeps you keeping on. Fruited all out good whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford, and will Walter's Wheaties do the trick today? We're going to find out as we bring you the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings in our game of the week. The Chicago Bears, along with the Denver Broncos, the only two undefeated teams remaining in the NFL after 7 weeks of play. The Denver Broncos are in action against the Jets, and we'll also be taking a look at that action. There was a lot of verbal action in Chicago this past week. There usually is. The Bears are a group of characters, as is their coach, Mike Ditka. Nevertheless, they had a big problem this week when they signed USFL quarterback Doug Flutie. That really upset quarterback Jim McMahon, and usually when McMahon is upset, he has something to say about it. This time, there were some answers coming from head coach Mike Ditka. So here are the quotable quotes this week from Chicago.
It's just kind of disheartening to everybody around that he'd do something like this this early in the season. You know, it's got to be that he's unhappy with somebody. You know, and who and what I don't know. But you know, he says he's not. But I don't know why it happened.
I frankly don't give a damn. Wasn't that a line in the movie? You know, the players don't run the ball club. They play football. But when they start making decisions on personnel, we have a big lot of problems.
I think there's a lot of unhappy ball players here right now because of, not only because of that, because of some other things, but that certainly doesn't, I mean, I know it's not sitting well with a bunch of players.
So while Jim McMahon was able to babble all week, he was unable to play against the Minnesota Vikings. He was out with an injured shoulder. He's been out many games before, and usually the backup quarterback is Steve Fuller, and that was the case against the Minnesota Vikings. The commentators for today's game, the former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, that would be Hank Stram, along with Gary Bender. So here they are, the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears, Hank Stram and Gary Bender.
Coach Mike Ditka should be pleased with his Bears' 6-0 start. But this week has brought controversy with injured quarterback Jim McMahon. Walter Payton and other Bears want to look past the problems and concentrate on the job at hand. Shut down the Vikings like they stuffed them 2 weeks ago. Quarterback Tommy Kramer and head coach Jerry Burns would like to get even with the Bears for that loss 2 weeks ago. As the Vikings last week showed some offense against the 49ers, with Kramer taking the NFC lead in touchdown passes. But it came down to an overtime field goal by Chuck Nelson. And now the Vikings are back in the NFC Central race. A lot of the faces have changed in the last 25 years, but one thing has stayed the same. When the Bears and Vikings meet, it's a good old-fashioned rivalry. Sellout crowd. It's been a tough ticket to get, and here comes Butler. Hess will bring it out to the 25-30, gets it out to the 36-yard line, and the Vikings will start from there. Thomas Sanders down there to make the stop after a 21-yard return, and Tommy Kramer will come in. leading him to victory over San Francisco last week in overtime. 326 yards passing. He'll face this forward wall. And Richard Dent is back. He feels he's healthy, but they're going to really test Steve McMichael. They feel they can run at him, and Tex is going to be ready to go on that situation. Al Harris starting in place of Wilbur Marshall has a calf problem, and Dave Durson playing as well at strong safety as anybody in the NFL. From the 36 now, Kramer with his first down, giving off inside, running to the ball is Alan Rice, number 36, to the 40-yard line. Gain of 3, 2nd and 7. Offensively, Kramer will hope that he can get Darren Nelson established, but he's been having a tough time. Only 14 yards in the last 15 carries. His offensive line is really paced by Gary Zimmerman. He's from the United States Football League, and Jerry Burns said he was as good as we'd hoped he would be. 2nd down now, 7 from the 40.
Gary, I think the last play they ran is indicative of what they're going to try to do most of the afternoon. They're going to try to run it with Michaels because they think he is so aggressive and he takes a course outside or inside, and as a result they'll let him go any way he wants to go and run the opposite way, and that's what happened on the very first play of the game on a draw play that made about 4 yards.
Steve Jordan, the tight end, firing off the mark, so it's going to be a penalty against the Minnesota Vikings.
Start. Offense 83, still 2nd down.
There's a familiar face and voice of Jim Tunney in charge of this game. In the first possession in the first 4 games, here's what's happened. Touchdown, touchdown, missed field goal, and touchdown. So they've gotten off the mark very effectively this year.
The big thing with the Vikings today, they have to make sure they have security. And I'm not talking about guards outside the stadium. I'm talking about pass protection. And if they can pass block, they've got a chance to make some big plays.
2nd down now, 11. That's Rice in motion. Give to Darren Nelson. Nelson finds the path. He's very close to the first down across the 45. William Perry dropped him there, and that's got to be encouraging to Minnesota.
There again, the same area. They're running to the right. This is a trap play with their left guard, Jim, with their left guard pulling on the play, Mark Bortz. And they pick up a nice gain on the play, but they pop through there nice and easy.
That is a first down, a 12-yard pickup by Darren Nelson. Jerry Burns said he's as courageous as any running back he's ever had. Darren not very big. He only weighs 189 pounds.
Well, the great thing about Nelson is the fact that he's one of the lightning guys. They have lightning on the outside with Jones, and they also have lightning with Lewis. And then, of course, they also have lightning with their fine running back.
And there's part of that you're talking about. Darren Nelson on the pass in the flat. That's another first down, a 15-yard pickup. Al Harris over to make the stop. And Minnesota very effectively now moving this football.
And the big guy, the big play guy, the home run guy in this Minnesota attack, really from a receiving standpoint, is A.C. Carter.
And Carter, they feel, is about 90% back after having arthroscopic surgery on his knee in September. Came back, played well, and as Jerry Burns said, he adds a dimension to our attack.
And they call him Little Shimmy.
From the 40, make it the 38-yard line. First down now for the Vikings. This time it's Alan Rice, and the Baylor product gets nowhere on that play because Richard Dent was there. Richard told us yesterday he's back. He had some abdominal muscle problems that was slowing him a step or two, but he feels he's ready to go after everybody again.
Talking to the Minnesota coaches prior to the game, they indicated that they have great respect for Dent, both as against the run and also against the pass, but they feel he's probably a lot better pass rusher, and they felt maybe they could run at him a little bit. They tried that time and certainly didn't succeed.
Second down, 9 yards to go. Lewis split to the near side. Hassan Jones to the top. This is Lewis in motion. Kramer on the 2nd and 9. He's got some time. He's got Alfred Anderson. Anderson to the 10, 5. He's in. However, there's a penalty flag at the 30-yard line.
He had man-for-man coverage that time.
Let's see what the penalty's all about, Hank. There's a flag at the 30-yard line, and Kramer's indicating it's against the Bears. 37-yard touchdown strike from Kramer to Alfred Anderson.
And Otis Wilson was covering man for man, number 55, and just quite couldn't get the job done, and they make a big touchdown play, throwing the ball to Anderson.
So again, the Vikings start very effectively. They've been most efficient on those first possessions.
You know, the other thing is very important when you play away from home, especially in an enclosed stadium like this one. You want to keep the crowd in the game if you possibly can. And starting like that is a great illustration and indication that they had the crowd in the game right now.
That was blocked, and it looked like Dan Hampton was the guy that blocked the point after attempt. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Watch the touchdown now. Anderson coming out of the backfield, number 46, and watch 55. Watch him, here he comes at an angle, but he takes kind of a flat angle. See, he takes too flat an angle, then has to change his course, and by the time he changed his course, it was all over. School was out. It's the bye-bye Blues. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings.
Let's go back now to the black point after by Chuck Nelson. Looks like Hampton, Dan Hampton.
Definitely Hampton on the left side.
So Anderson scores, and the Vikings lead it 6-0.
The Bears are now on their opening drive, and they're going for a 4th down and 1 on the Vikings' 35-yard line.
They're going for it on 4th down a yard. Suey's going to get it easily. That's confidence in your football team. The offensive line that time certainly controlling the line of scrimmage.
You know, that's the great thing about this Bear team. They have enough maturity and confidence that they're not affected by sudden change, meaning that adversity doesn't bother them. They thrive on it, and they play better. A good surge, look at a good surge by the offensive line, and Tom Thayer, the right guard, gets an inside position on the defensive tackle and provides good running room for Suey to pop through there for the necessary yardage.
So they're close to the 31. 1st down, 6-0, the Vikings leading. They scored on their first possession. See, there's the backs now going up to Fuller to get the play. It's so noisy. Where to go? In motion. Fuller flies on the play. Steve stepping up. He fumbles the ball. And this time the Vikings are going to get it. But there are penalty flags. Let's check them out.
Minnesota looks like got the possession of the ball.
Illegal motion offense is declined. 1st down, Minnesota.
Tim Newton's the guy that came up with it.
Now there's Fuller going back in the pocket, faking to both backs, and then slips a little bit. Martin is in hot pursuit. As he tries to run upfield, the ball slips out of his hand. He tries to recover it, but no dice. And the Vikings recover 1st and 10.
So Chicago turns the football over. The Vikings will have it now at their own 34-yard line. But this defense, after turnovers, has been very, very difficult. Look at this. They have not allowed to score after the last 8 Bear turnovers. They'd like to keep that string alive. Hank, on that last drive, Bears had it for 11 plays, 6 minutes and 8 seconds, but didn't get anything on the board.
The other thing, you know, you have to do a lot of good business on 1st and 10 on that drive. They averaged on 1st down minus 1.25 yards on 1st and 10, and that's bad.
Kramer now, his team leading 6-0, has the ball at the 34. Protection is excellent. Superb. Now breaks down, gets it off to Darren Nelson. Nelson at 1st down, out to the 45, the 40, to the Chicago 35.
Flag again. Another flag on the play.
32-yard gain. Let's see if it stands. Al Harris is shaken up on the play. There's Harris at the 42, and it's going to go against Minnesota. That'll bring it back. Al Harris, of course, starting in place of Wilbur Marshall, who has a bad calf. And so they may get a little thin at that linebacking spot.
You know, I didn't get time to mention this earlier in the game, Gary. But I talked to Steve Fuller on the field before the game and Willie Galt, and they said there's anywhere from 5 to 12 people on the Bears that have come down with a flu, and they feel kind of punky. They're playing kind of punky so far.
81 offense during the run after the pass was caught. 10 yards, still 1st down.
1st and 14. There's Marshall. Marshall took himself out of practice Thursday with that calf injury, but now pressed into service due to the injury to Harris. 1st and 14 from the 30. Kramer, again, with a lot of time. He gets it off to Jordan, the tight end, and he picks up about 5 to the 35-yard line. Marshall over to make the stop. This guy, you feel, Hank, is one of the most underrated players in the NFL.
Yes, he is. He's very bright, runs good patterns, doesn't have blazing speed, but average tight end, if he averages 12 yards a catch, is very good. You see, he averages 14.6. And the normal scale, really, if a back averages 6 per catch, tight end 12, and a deep receiver 18, that's the ideal situation. But he's beyond the ideal situation. But he's an excellent back tight end and gets into the open areas extremely well.
He led all tight ends in the NFC in receiving last year with 68 catches.
The other thing, the Bears have to keep Kramer in the pocket. He's very, very effective out of the pocket when you flush him out.
Here is Nelson, and William Perry is there, and flags him down. We have a penalty coming up. Flags flying. There's Irwin now. He didn't like the way Perry treated Darren Nelson. And this old rivalry that has been heated for so many years is flaring up once again. Let's see what this is all about. Going to be tackling by face mask. Let's see if we can pick up this face mask violation, Coach. I don't know if it was Perry that picked up Darren or what. Let's see.
Let's see Perry, number 72. He's on the nose. He's on the nose. Plays off the
Face
block.
mask, 5 yards, number 72.
Here he is.
Still second down.
He gets him to the backside. Boy, he has.
Yes, he does. Very, very obvious. So that will give them the first down.
Talking to Mike Ditka yesterday, I asked about the size of the refrigerator. He says he weighs about 235. And
235.
335, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you're really giving the benefit of the doubt.
335. He wants him down to 320 next week, 315 the next, and 310 the following week.
And he said it with emphasis. That is not a first down because of the 5-yard penalty. Second down coming up. This is, and it's going to be more. Anthony Carter, touchdown, Minnesota.
There's the lineman.
60-yard touchdown.
Here it is, a very simple play. Faking inside, not a good fake to hold a linebacker so he can throw over the top. Runs a slant pass on the inside, and the rest is history. This guy's a burner. There'll be a big brown scorch mark right down the middle of the field where he just got through running.
Well, they say he's only 90%, but that's a pretty good 90%, isn't it?
I asked him yesterday, I said, how do you feel, and what about the coverage? And all he did was smile.
That now for Kramer is his 15th touchdown pass of the year. He was tied with Dan Marino, the NFL lead coming in here. 2 today. The snap. Coleman had to get it up quickly. He did, and Nelson hits it. Yesterday, I should say last week, Coleman had to save a game for him on a snap that was not right, and he comes up with the quick hands again.
Midway through the second quarter, the Vikings have to punt from deep in their own half.
Greg Coleman, he is an outstanding punter. Coming in here, 6th in the NFL.
But he takes a lot of time. He has to kick. He'll kick the ball 5 yards in front of where he was. He'll kick the ball about where the 10-yard line is. And as a result, if you go in front of him good enough with a good angle,
there it is, too.
Chance to block it.
Yes, sir. You called that, but look at Coleman. And Coleman with a great ad-lib effort.
Well, you see, Gary, he takes a lot of time, and the rusher should have blocked the kick that time. But he went too deep, and he went right underneath him and made the first down. Watch it now. Watch him. He gets the ball. Look at now. Watch where the guy comes way beyond. He should have been 1.5 yards in front of his foot. He'd have been in great shape to make the play. He went too deep, and for that reason, Coleman's a seasoned pro. He reads it very well and took advantage. Watch this. Look at this. See, he doesn't go out in front.
That's Sean Gale, Hank.
That's right. Sean Gale did not go out in front at the proper angle. Had he done so, it'd have been a block kick because he takes it 5 yards to kick the ball.
So Minnesota's possession continues, and the drive has now taken them to the Bears' 42.
Here's Kramer scrambling around in a 3rd and 10, and he's going to get a first down to the 30. Slides wisely to a first down at the 27.
There again, the key, no containment. You see, you cannot let him get outside of containment, meaning you can't get outside of the defensive left end. And in this particular case, look at, watch, he gets around, he'll go to the right side, and the defensive end finally tries to catch him from the back side. But look at the strawberry side, slide right there for the first down.
He's been watching too many of those baseball playoffs. He didn't slide very far, did he? And anyway, he very alertly goes down, and at the 29, first down.
He didn't slide very far, but he slid safely.
Slid safely, huh?
Yeah.
13-yard pickup. Minnesota now 5 of 6 on third downs after converting that last one. Gary Nelson, and he fumbles the ball, and it's loose. At the 22, there's a big pileup. Who's got it? Minnesota indicating they have it. And I think Jim Tunney agrees, so they still have it at the 22 and pick up some good yardage on the play.
We talked about it earlier. They're going a lot at McMichaels. Not to say that McMichaels is not a great player, which he is, but he's so aggressive that you take advantage of him because he gets good penetration, and you take him any way he wants to go and then cut the other way, and that's what seemingly they're doing a good job of so far this afternoon.
Gary Zimmerman came up with the ball. Let's watch it again. Wilson stripped it.
Yeah, Otis Wilson stripped the ball, and it looked like Zimmerman, 65, recovered the fumble.
You really like Gary Zimmerman, don't you?
Oh, yeah, he's a terrific football player. To look at him, you know, he doesn't look like he plays.
What's that mean?
Well, you know, he doesn't look as impressive physically as a lot of people. A lot of guys play like Tarzan and look like Tarzan. He doesn't look like Tarzan, but he plays like him.
So there's a first down run. Minnesota can do no wrong right now. Gary Fency made the stop on Darren Nelson. On the 2nd and 2, the Vikings pick up the first down just outside the 15. What you don't want to do is look like Tarzan and play like Jane. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, Jerry Burns, the oldest rookie coach in the National Football League, 59 years old. And he's at the head of the class, Hank, as you take the grade at this stage of the season.
He wins this one today. They'll paste a big gold star on his forehead, like they used to do at school when I was at St. Mark's in Gary, Indiana.
13th play on this drive now. Kramer has it, first down just outside the 15. Wait a minute. Going to stop it all. Let's reset it.
See, that time Jordan was trying to shift out to get Duerson away from the play, but in the process, he took a little bit too line.
5 yards. Still first down.
So delay of game, 5-yard penalty. First down now, 15 yards to go for Minnesota. Ted Brown this time, and Brown will get close to the 15, and he'll get just about the penalty yardage back. You see the time left in the first half.
I tell you, they're still doing a lot of business on that left side, the offensive right side, getting good movement and really attacking the area. You know, a lot of times you'll talk to a coach before a game and ask him what the approach is, and he'll tell you, and then you watch the game and you wonder what they were talking about because they never do what they tell you. This game, specifically talking about Schnelker, he indicated this is what they wanted to do, and this is exactly what they're doing.
Second down, a little over 10 to go, and this time Brown will negotiate the 12-yard line before he's knocked down.
Well, you talk about simplicity. They're not doing anything at all, running right side, left side, straight ahead, occasional draw and occasional trap. Trap meaning that they pull the right guard that time with the anticipation of thinking that the right end was not going to be blocked, and then they block him from the inside out, I should say, and they're doing a great job of it.
There's what we've been talking about, keeping you documented on it. Starting from the 18-yard line, you can see the time they've taken. It's 3rd and 6. For Minnesota, well, let's make it 3rd and 7. 2 seconds. He just got the snap off in time, and this pass behind the intended receiver at the 5-yard line.
Boy, they had the perfect situation. Singletary was blitzing on the play. They picked it up, but in his haste to get rid of the football, he threw it poorly, and it falls incomplete.
Malarkey, the tight end, the intended receiver, so they're going to have to settle for the field goal, and Chuck Nelson will come in. Nelson, 7 of 9 this year, longest of 48 yards. He survived 16 different kickers coming into camp this year to win the job.
You know, the other thing, talking to him yesterday at practice, I asked him what he specifically tried to do in his kicks. He said, I pick out a person. I don't try to kick it through the uprights. I pick out a person between the uprights and try to kick it to that person to make sure I zero in on the target.
29-yard attempt. Little chip shot, and Chuck Nelson, after missing that point after that was blocked, comes back and adds the 3-pointer. With 2 minutes left now in this first half of play, we have a surprising game. 16-0 Minnesota.
The Bears tried to pick up the pieces before halftime. 2nd and 3 from their own 24.
On the 2nd and 3, going without the huddle. Fuller looked like he was going to go deep. Now he's going to empty the football. That's the 3rd sack. The ball is loose, but it's been blown dead. Keith Millard was back there again, and this Viking defense started to put it together last week against the 49ers. Millard and Newton, those defensive tackles. And it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 8 now for Chicago. Clock with 1:21 left in the first half. Line of scrimmage will be the 27. Steve Fuller, who was a valedictorian of his high school in Spartanburg, South Carolina, was a Rhodes Scholar at Clemson, very bright, articulate. A guy who came off the bench against the Packers and played so well, regaining his confidence, but's been struggling here in this first half.
Yeah, you surely can't blame this on Fuller. He just hadn't had any protection.
3rd down, let's make it 6 yards to go.
They're playing a double zone, something in the middle. If they can get it in there, look at that.
That's the 4th sack, and that's Icebox. Tim Newton coming off of that brilliant performance of a week ago. He is, in the estimation of Jerry Burns, the fastest 286-pounder in the NFL.
Watch this again. Watch the pressure. Goes back in the pocket. Look at Robinson coming from the outside, and he puts him in the vice. Makes the tackle and gets the sack.
The Bears were forced to punt, and at halftime, Minnesota leads 16-0. At the start of the 3rd quarter, the Vikings have the ball again, but they face a 3rd and 21 at Chicago's 43.
Lewis put to the near side. Anthony Carter to the top of the screen.
They got 1-on-1 on the right. Oh, now they change the coverage.
There's Rice in motion. Kramer on the roll. And wide open is Jordan. He is as open as you can get. And he's very close to another first down. Marshall made the stop.
I tell you, the motion created that situation that time. They sent a man in motion, and as a result, they rotated. The middle was wide. Look at the linebackers rotate. He rolls away from the rotation, and the middle is wide open. Plus the fact he got all the time in the world. See, the ball has to be thrown on the hash marks or between the hash marks with that kind of coverage, and they hit it right in the button. Again, no pass rush on the play.
Marshall made the stop. Now they're going to measure to see if he got the first down. Hank, it's amazing when teams have had adversity and have struggled, then you win an overtime game last week, you have success early, and things just fall together, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And basically what it amounts to, I think everybody likes to relate to an experience, and especially a successful experience. And so as a result, I think the Vikings last week did a great job of coming back and winning the football game. Gives them a lot of confidence, and I think they should go for the first down here, no question.
All right, that's what they're going to do. They are vindicating your decision. Jerry Burns says 4th down. They are 1-1 on 4th down today.
And if they don't make it, I'm going to boo.
You're going to boo? Take your microphone off, will you, before you do?
Look at the right side. If they run, they're going to run a quarterback sneak.
Kramer's such a competitor. He will just go eyeball to eyeball with you, and this time he takes it upon himself to try to get the first down. This is tough territory, Hank. Let's look at it again.
Well, the offensive line has to get a surge, and they just got enough to make the necessary yardage for the first down. It looks like they did. Stephen Michael goes over the top, number 76. We'll see how they mark it.
Well, they're going to measure again. You know,
it's awful close.
Visiting with Kramer, as you look at him, I was so interested, Hank, as you watch again the replay. Look at the surge there.
Look how low the refrigerator gets. He plugs things up down below. McMichaels comes up on top. And as a result, Rivera, number 59, is also involved in a play. But evidently they made the first down.
They did make it. Anyway, we were talking to Kramer on Friday, and he was in real pain after practice. Remember, his arm was bothering. He was sitting there. He had a little pinch in his jaw, and he was bent over his stool. But you just had that look in his eye like, I'm going to play if I have, you know, 1 or 2 arms and can't play.
Well, I think that's true. Plus the fact that I think at this stage of the season, a couple of days of rest for the number 1 quarterback is a lot better than a day of work, because his arm gets fresh, he gets the old zip back, and as a result, he feels on Sunday that he's good and fresh and ready to play, and that's the way he's playing this afternoon.
Playing extremely well. Here is Darren Nelson. Nelson to the 10. Nelson to the 5. First and goal. After that that 16-yard run, and I don't think I've seen teams pick their way through the middle like this club is.
Look at the way they're coming off the ball. Look at the block they get on the refrigerator. Look at the way they push him back. He cuts beyond that block, underneath it, and scampers all the way down close to about the 7-yard line. Great blocking at the point of attack. And Richard Dent finally made the tackle, number 95.
But to get back to my point, Hank, it'd be a long time you'd have to go back to see teams running up the middle this effectively against Chicago.
Well, they're doing it very, very quickly and very efficiently.
First and goal outside the 5. Brown will get inside the 5, and that's all. Second and goal there. Singletary again on the stop.
The Vikings are not pulling linemen very, very often, except on a trap. That time they tried to run a counter trap by pulling the left guard, and you saw what happened. There's a leak if you're not careful by pulling people, and that's why they've been so successful. Look at the puller pull, and watch the counter play, which takes a little time. By the time he gets into the hole, Brown gets into the hole, it's all over. They cave it in, and that's what happens usually when you pull against the Bears because they're so aggressive and so quick.
From the 5, second and goal there. Kramer stepping up, little out, and the offensive tackle, David Huffman, the tackle eligible on that play, I assume, couldn't come up with it.
Now he lines up on the side as a tight end, Gary, in this formation, so he is eligible. He's a regular. He has to report, however. And look he's wide open. Here he comes, number 72. And he had to reach for the ball. And for a lineman to make that kind of a catch is very difficult. You got to hit him right at the numbers so he can use his body and also his hands to catch the ball. This kind of a catch is tough. Look, he has to reach way out there. He'd have to hang for the goalpost for a couple of hours to make that catch.
Well, he was leaning the other way. It made it tough. So now it's third and goal. We understand Darren Nelson suffered a cramp. He'll be back.
Look at the bump and run on the outside. They might try to go up on top.
Kramer scrambling back against the grain. He's going to make it. Touchdown. Penalty flag. Singletary is down on the play.
Personal foul. Face mask number 50. Touchdown counts will be penalized on the kickoff. Penalized on the kickoff.
Well, Singletary with a face mask violation, but also sustaining the injury. Let's see if we can pick it up, Hank.
I just can't understand why the Bears haven't done a better job of containing the quarterback, Kramer. See, he rolls to his right, then comes back to the left, and he makes the play, goes into the end zone. There's Singletary. Watch him. He grabs the face mask, and in the process is injured on the play himself. I don't know what happened. Here again, look at this. Now look at Dent coming from the outside. He's looking right. Perry is shoved out of the way, creates a big hole up the middle. He takes advantage of it, sees it, darts into the end zone. Singletary gets there a little late, grabs the face mask, and in the process is injured himself on the play.
Chuck Nelson to add the point after. Well, this has been some day for Tommy Kramer. Throwing for 2 touchdowns, running for another. Nelson adding the point after. They understand that Singletary's injury has been diagnosed as a pulled groin. So Mike trying to walk it off. This has been a long day for Chicago. The Vikings lead it 23-0.
The fourth quarter, and the Bears try to salvage something from the debris. 1st and 10 from Minnesota's 48.
Fuller stepping up, gets it off to Moorhead, who's had a good afternoon for Chicago. Makes the catch to the 42-yard line, about 3 yards short of the first down. Scott Studwell made the stop. After 3 quarters in this game, Hank, the Vikings had 353 yards in total offense. Chicago 86. They had the ball almost 30 minutes to Chicago's 15. I mean, it's startling. It's one thing to get beat, but to see how they're getting beat.
Well, I think that happens when you lack intensity. They don't have any intensity at all this afternoon, and you don't play with a little fear of the opposition and a lot of respect and intensity. These kind of things happen.
From the 42 now, 2nd down and 4. Pressure coming. Penalty flag is thrown.
And that's got to be a holding penalty. Anytime he drops in the net area, it's a holding penalty.
The 5th sack of the day for Minnesota. Remember, they had only 12 coming into this game. Tim Newton, Keith Millard arriving at the point where Steve Fuller is.
See, watch the rush. Look at Robinson coming from the outside. Millard coming from the inside. I don't know who that is on the outside. Newton is getting a lot of pressure, but they cave in the pocket. That's what you call caving in the pocket. They push everybody back right into the quarterback's lap, and as a result, there's nothing you can do.
3rd down and 12. That was a very fast cave-in.
It really was.
That's interesting. They were 21-0 with McMahon starting, without him 10 and 6.
Now they got a double zone. They got to throw the ball inside someplace if they can, if they have time. The middle area between the hash marks and between the... they're going up on top.
That's where they go. Go. Touchdown, Chicago.
Man, they had double coverage, and he outran the coverage. That's what he did on that, Gary. They had double coverage on him. They expected him to throw something inside, and he ran right by both people for the touchdown. That's the kind of a play that might get him back in his game. Here it is again. Now, this time, the key is they had pass protection, and he got rid of the ball quickly. Look at this. He runs right by the 2 guys, Joey Browner and Teal, runs right by the coverage. He's fast enough to run right through the coverage. Touchdown, Chicago Bears.
Just shows you, Hank, that those X's are not in the right places. Those O's go right by you, huh?
You're right.
You can have the best strategy in the world, but sheer speed will just knock it out of the way.
Well, the other thing about it is, as I talked about it earlier, even though the score is 23-6 or 23-0, you're really kind of 3.5 plays away from being back in the game. There's one of them right there.
Point after attempt now, Kevin Butler. And Butler on the hold from Fuller puts it through. It's 23-7, and the Bears avert the shutout. The last time they've been shut out was in that title game against San Francisco, but they've now gotten on the scoreboard.
The Bears go hunting for more. 2nd and 10 at Minnesota's 39.
Stepping up, and he's down. Big sack by Doug Martin. 6th sack of the game. And Van Horn is shaken up for Chicago.
Martin that time, 79, and Robinson, both of whom got great penetration. Look at Martin coming on the outside.
Paul Blair could not contain him. He's the rookie out of Oklahoma State. And Van Horn is shaken up. We'll try to figure out what happened to Keith as they're looking him over at the 50-yard line. Lou Barnes in motion. Fuller, pressure coming.
Tim Newton, 96.
The icebox. Dumping Fuller.
Boy, I tell you, he's like a destruction ball coming through there. He's low slung, strong, and Jerry Burns said I'd put him up against any other lineman in the league in a 40-yard sprint. Watch him, numbers 96, the left tackle. Watching him come up the middle here now. He's got great leverage, low slung, and there he is. Comes up high and makes the tackle. Here's a body slam.
And that was it for the Bears. Their first defeat in 13 games. Outplayed by the Minnesota Vikings in every department. And now the Bears lead the Vikings by just 1 game in the NFC Central, with the Vikings looking a fair bet for a wild card spot at least. In their past 2 games, the Vikings have beaten the Super Bowl champions from the past 2 seasons. First San Francisco and now Chicago. Between 1970 and 1977, the Vikings themselves were 4-time Super Bowl losers. So the local fans here in Minneapolis know what the big time is all about. But this win over Chicago is the biggest thing to happen here in a decade.
I had a feeling they would win because I think that what's real important in sports is the attitude, the spirit. And the Vikings were pretty well pumped up after having beaten San Francisco, and they've been much maligned, and they're kind of, they wanted to show somebody something. And the Bears deserve to get beat eventually.
Do you think it would have been different if Jim McMahon was in the game?
There could have been a
little difference, but I think that Minnesota was so pumped up that they really wanted to win this game. Of course, 2 weeks ago, they got smashed in Chicago, and I believe they had something to prove to the Chicago Bears. So I think that the absence of Jim McMahon really didn't make a big difference. I think that Minnesota really wanted to win, and they came to play this past weekend.
I don't know. I think they've been a really good team this year. They've improved quite a bit, and they must have just gotten their act together because they've been playing really well, and the whole state's kind of starting to get behind them and get excited about them again.
The fact is that they have a much better front line so that they give the quarterback, Kramer, much better support than he's had in the past several years.
Did you see the Jim McMahon cheerleaders on the sideline?
I did, yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. There's a philosophy in sports that says when you win, say little, when you lose, say less. The Bears tend, when they win, to say quite a bit, and I think it's nice that somebody showed them that, hey, you got to act, let's have a little modesty here, and let's, it's just a game, and, So I thought that, yeah, taunt them a little bit, jeer them a little bit, show them that we can act just as outrageous as Jim McMahon.
They've beaten San Francisco and they've beaten Chicago, both past Super Bowl winners. How far can the Vikings go?
I don't know. We've been to 4 Super Bowls already, and we've lost all 4. I'm hoping we can do one this year. It would be really great.
To beat Chicago was, of course, just as much of a thrill for the Vikings players and coaches. And now they, and they alone, can reveal it. The secret to beating these 1986 Bears.
Nothing happened in that particular game that changed my mind how good the Bear defense is. It's terrific, but we were able to run some quick-hitting traps against them, some quick-hitting cross-blocking schemes. Our backs ran very aggressively. Our offensive line, I think, blocked as well and as hard as they have all year, and we did a pretty good job of running against them. But I'll say game in and game out, it's very difficult to run against the Bears.
And your passing game was superb. Kramer just seems to be getting better and better.
Well, Tommy Kramer is a very good quarterback, and we feel are very good receivers. But any quarterback has to have protection, and we changed up our protection and, to a certain extent against the Bears. We went with quicker rhythm passes, and our line did a good job of protecting for Tommy. So we were able to throw the ball. I think that throwing the ball is probably our strong suit, and we were able to throw against the Bears on Sunday.
Last week against the Bears, the defense had 7 sacks. They'd only allowed 6 sacks all season. What was the secret to your defense getting to Chicago?
Well, the last time we played them, they beat us 23-zip, and, that was the difference in the game a couple weeks ago. In the game last week, we was getting to McMahon, but we was getting it late. He was getting the ball off, and he was completing passes. So this week, we put a lot of emphasis on getting to the quarterback and sacking him. And the way we did that, we ran a lot of different stunts, and, we really worked together as a defensive line, and that's how we got him.
Would it have been a different story if McMahon was in there?
I don't think so. I don't think it was the quarterbacks. I think it was, like I said, the way our defensive line played. We came out, we did a lot of things differently. And it could have been Roger Staubach back then. I don't think it would have made a difference.
Have they started talking about the Purple People Eaters again yet?
Well, not exactly the Purple People Eaters. They're just talking about the frenzy that's involved with our defensive unit, and the Purple People Eaters were a singular group that played here years ago, and is a very favorable memory of ours from those years. But I don't think that, I'm sure this team is not yet at that particular point. There's a possibility they could be that good, but and if they are that good, they'll be a playoff team. But time will tell relative to the Purple People Eaters.
One might well ask, what is a Purple People Eater? Well, outside of it being just difficult to say, a Purple People Eater is a reference to the Minnesota Vikings back in the late 60s and the early 70s when they were a tough defensive team. They dominated in their division, and they were a perennial playoff team. They were dominant today, once again, these Minnesota Vikings, defeating the Chicago Bears. And for Walter Payton, well, just not enough Wheaties, I guess. He was held at 28 yards, a disappointing day for Walter Payton. Meanwhile, the Doug Flutie story continued to develop this past week in Chicago. He was signed to a Chicago Bear quarterback contract through the season of 1988. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what that sets off with Jim McMahon. He is very upset about the entire issue, and his coach, Mike Ditka, doesn't seem to care whether he's upset or not. It's going to be an interesting story to follow. Well, we mentioned that along with the Chicago Bears, the only undefeated team going into this week's play was the Denver Broncos, and we're going to pick up their action against the New York Jets right after this break. Welcome back, and we hope you enjoyed our game of the week, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of good action this past week in the NFL, and our Monday night game was right here in New York. It was the Denver Broncos, undefeated in the AFC West, against the New York Jets, on top of the AFC East with a 5-1 record. It was also a great opportunity for the Jets. Now, they have defeated a lot of lesser teams in the NFL, and they have felt that they are not getting enough credit for what they are doing. So it was a real opportunity for the Jets to prove that they are indeed for real. The Jets have got off to fast starts in all their games this year, and on their opening drive, backup quarterback Pat Ryan led them to 5 first downs on the way to the Denver 6-yard line. There, after a penalty, the Jets have a 1st down and 5. With me in the commentary booth is Al Michaels.
Inside handoff. Hector fights his way. Touchdown.
Yes.
And Dan Alexander threw a beauty to guard number 60.
I say the Broncos aren't big defensively. Well, they aren't big compared to a lot of teams as they look in the NFL video replay unit as to whether he did indeed get in or not. We're going to look again, and they are looking up here. Art McNally is the official present tonight. Let's look at it again.
After further review, the instant replay, there is no touchdown. The ball is on the 1-yard line.
So he is just shy of the touchdown, and you can credit Harden with a saving tackle. And so there is a victim of technology, at least at the moment. In years past, it would have been a touchdown and 6 and going on to the extra point. But you take another look now as Harden, for the moment anyway, saves the touchdown.
He went down before he broke the plane with the ball, and it is a good call. The head of officials, Art McNally, is the man in charge tonight. They have a new setup tonight. The umpire tonight has a little earpiece, and so does McNally, and they can talk back and forth. They're not yelling and screaming, and we are finally getting state-of-the-art equipment, Al.
Well, now they have Page and they have Hector again. So let's see if they give Hector the ball and give him another shot, and they do. And he leaps, and he's in for the touchdown, at least temporarily.
Says, hey, there you are. You want it all the way, I'll give it to you. Big drive by the Jets. They wanted to be able to move the ball on the ground. All coaches do. They wanted to be able to move the ball, keep the ball away from John Elway in that offense, and they've used up most of the first quarter, or first half of it. That's a great effort here. Misses on the hurdle, comes down, and spins back into the end zone.
So Hector gets his touchdown. And that's only right. As Leahy attempts the extra point. And the Jets picked up 6 first downs on that drive that started at the 35-yard line and consumed the better part of the first half of the first quarter.
Hector did most of it on the ground, along with McNeil. He carried it 40 times last week. Is he durable? You better believe he is. And a good extra effort as he spins away from Foley for the touchdown.
On their next drive, the Jets benefited from 2 big penalties against the Broncos. This one for pass interference on 3rd down and 13. And from 27 yards out, Pat Leahy kicked his 21st consecutive field goal for the Jets. The NFL record for consecutive field goals is 23 by Mark Mosley when he was with the Washington Redskins. The first New York drive of the second quarter was another long one. Freeman McNeil back in the thick of it after missing the last month with an elbow injury. Pat Leahy kicked his 22nd straight, this time from 25 yards out to make it 13-0 for the Jets. Still in the second quarter, the Broncos are punting from their own end zone.
3:14 remaining, and that's not a very good kick either. Fielded at the 48-yard line by Sohn, breaks it to the outside, inside the 40, the 30, and down he goes at the 25. And Norman again makes the tackle. And when your punter makes the tackle, you're in trouble.
I'd hate to see the way Jack Wheel was punting when they released him for Chris Norman. Norman, not a good kick, and it was a low kick, the kind you will return, and Kurt Sohn promptly did that. Stepped up, gave it a look up the middle, and that's just to pull the defense in.
and then steps to the outside and rips it off back to the 26-yard line. And the Jets, again, they are totally dominating this football game in every aspect.
37-yard punt, first down, Jets, as the flip goes out here and taken to 24 by Hector. And Foley is in on the stop, and it's O'Brien at quarterback now for the Jets. So Ryan with a terrific first half, and then Walton goes to the bench here and has O'Brien come back from the knee injury.
That really is surprising because Joe was very outspoken that he would not bring him in, and now we see that Ryan is leaving. He is going inside with one of the trainers, so something must have happened to Ryan. We did not get the report.
We'll get it for you. Second down and 8 from the 23-yard line. 2:21 to play in the half. And O'Brien lofting it for Walker. Welcome back.
And what I said earlier, you want to throw the ball deep, you get O'Brien in there. He'll never underthrow it. This is one of your basic blowouts thus far. Everything working for the Jets. Dennis Smith trying to stay with Wesley Walker. He'd never do it in a sprint, and O'Brien will never underthrow it. He works so well with Walker on the deep pass. Remember those 4 touchdown passes of Walker against Miami earlier in the year in that thriller? Not a bad way to welcome your quarterback back.
And what touch, too, to miss a game, to come in cold off the bench. And O'Brien holding because Ryan normally does, but with Ryan gone, O'Brien really getting into the thick of things as Leahy kicks it through. And again, it's a perfect first half for the New York Jets.
And the Broncos' first half problems weren't over yet.
First and 10 Denver from the 8. Elway from the gun. Look out. Gastineau spins him, but there's Elway, and they did not rule in the grasp. And now he dumps it and somehow completes it to the 16-yard line, and Wilhite makes the catch. Nice, nearly in the grasp.
He was in the end zone, I think, 3 times. Did they get him in the grasp?
It's funny because we've seen some almost ludicrous in the grasp calls. I'm thinking about that one in the Green Bay-Chicago game. And if Green Bay-Chicago was in the grasp, this was a sack in the dirt.
You do have to control him, though. He spins away from Gastineau. He was not in the grasp there. Now he'll step across the goal line, and maybe the officials may be a little more judicious about their call. And that was amazing. He was able to get that ball away. He just strong arms it. That was Bennett. It looked all right. He makes it all look like it's difficult. Here he is, steps across the goal line, back into the end zone. Very confident in what he can do with the football. That's amazing.
So John Elway dodges that bullet, but 2 plays later, after another Denver penalty, he's pretty much back in the same hole.
It is second down and 10, and Elway nearly getting it, and they call it this time. This time they call it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Jets compound it as a fracas breaks out, and it was Keith Bishop, number 54, right in the middle of things. And I think they may have flagged him initially, and then the melee really starts. An amazing first half in the sense the Jets doing absolutely everything right. Elway and the Broncos can't get on track. It's 22-0. And again, it's a very big play in as much as we know Denver is explosive and they can score and they've come from behind, but now they're down by more than 3 touchdowns. And as you can see, the safety had already been called there before number 78 Bennett came in.
The Broncos finally got on the scoreboard early in the 3rd quarter when Rich Carlos kicked this 47-yarder. But just when it seemed that Denver might really threaten, Elway was intercepted by Kyle Clifton in the Jets' end zone. In the 4th quarter, Elway had to come out with a mild concussion, leaving backup quarterback Gary Kubiak to take Denver through to the end.
Kubiak, and it's tipped and caught for a touchdown. In and out of the hands of Clarence Kay and into Sammy Winder. And they finally figure out a way to get into the end zone with some assistance.
Small consolation for Denver. beaten 22-10. The end of their unbeaten record. The Jets have now maintained their 2-game lead in the AFC East. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos have the lead in the AFC West. But nevertheless, they are beginning to hear the Raider footsteps. The Raiders dropped their first 3 games. They have now won 4 in a row. We thought they'd be there. The Los Angeles Raiders 30, the Miami Dolphins 28. And no wonder the Raiders are not popular in Miami. They've now beaten the Dolphins 15 times in their last 19 meetings. But once again, the Dolphins were their own worst enemies. Just look at the mess James Pruitt makes of this Ray Guy punt. The turnover set up 1 of 3 touchdowns for Marcus Allen, who gained 116 yards. The New York Giants 12, the Seattle Seahawks 17. After falling behind early, the Giants had enough chances to win. This was their only touchdown by Solomon Miller. Giants quarterback Phil Simms was sacked 7 times, 4 times by Seahawks defensive end Jacob Green. Simms was also intercepted 4 times, this one coming on the very last play of the game when they still had a chance. The St. Louis Cardinals 21, the Washington Redskins 28. 3 touchdown passes for Jay Schrader as the Redskins jumped out to a 28-7 lead, but they were almost embarrassed by a late St. Louis burst. The Dallas Cowboys 17, the Philadelphia Eagles 14. A 15-yard touchdown run for Tony Dorsett, but the Eagles kept pace with the Cowboys for most of the day.